So I'm going to design this talk, and we're going to try and do it as quickly as possible. I'm going to talk about 5 years on, which is 5 years ago I won the TED Prize, and from that we developed a system. But first I'm going to talk a little bit about my organization, the work that we're doing. So the aim of this talk is, I think it's great that I followed Saskia, is the idea of evolution, not revolution, as the world is facing this idea of revolution, but with no real certainty of why. A lot of people demonstrating, upset. I mean, I was in Salt Lake City, and there were people demonstrating. Salt Lake City is like the calmest city in America, and they're even demonstrating there. That's how this is spread. So, you know, my organization is about how do we get architects, engineers, planners, building professionals involved in humanitarian issues around the world. And it's not just about how do we create shelter, but how do we create holistic communities which people can be engaged and that they can create economic anchors of security. So, for the last decade, we've built this army. It's an army of socially responsible designers and architects and builders, and they've been providing professional design services around the world. But more importantly, and I think this is something that's going to come up again and again and again, you can't just have an idea. Idea is 10% of the solution. Implementation is 90% of the solution. Because unless you build it, it doesn't matter. So it's really important that our designers and our architects implement their innovative solutions. And they go from the sublime to the ridiculous. So just last year, we've worked from everything from a 60-foot catamaran made out of 100% PET, you know, the plastic Coke bottles, that successfully sailed from San Francisco to Sydney, went across the plastic gyre, and, you know, but what's really amazing about it is they invented a new material that can actually create a seismically sound, rigid structure made out of these plastic bottles. So suddenly, it's not kind of taking some out of the waste stream, it's turning something from the waste stream into a kind of solid, rigid structure. So just imagine what that can do in Haiti. So sublime to the ridiculous, in Pakistan, we've been working in the Swat Valley on doing bamboo construction, which is seismically sound bamboo housing that are permanent for the cost of about $800, which is half the cost of a UN tent. So given the choice of being funded to make tents or make houses, I'd rather make houses. And this is not a charity, this is a social business that's been building these, and I'll go back to that in a second. So the idea, and as I noted, this isn't just about creating houses, it's about how do you create social and economic stability. And you do that through smart development. So we do that by embedding these designers, these crazy, mad, kind of get-it-done architects and designers all over the world. And we marry them with local expertise. It's unbelievable the amount of local expertise that's around when you listen. So the idea is you don't rush in and start working. It's about living and working in that community and engaging the community as partners of that process and not recipients of that process. Integrating social and cultural sustainability. And I mean that in terms of not just understanding how villages operate and interact, but when you look at kids, you know, we always have the kids part of the design of our educational facilities. It's not because it's cute and it's sweet to do. But when this girl becomes a mother and her kids go to our school, because she was part of the process, she's going to tell her kids, don't you mess up that school because I designed that. So that's generational sustainability. The other thing is, you know, there's nothing wrong in making profits. It's where you push it. So the idea is not only do we fund our architects to do this work, but every community member is paid to do this work. I don't believe in sweat equity. There's nothing worse than going into an underserved community and saying, look, we're giving you a present, and in exchange for that, you have to work for free. That's almost adding insult to injury. Not only have you suffered through no fault of your own, but your gift is you have to basically give your sweat. So starting these small businesses out of the reconstruction is an important part of rebuilding a community, not just physically, but mentally. The idea of social cohesion through a positive change. So this is the scientific chart that I'm going to show you of social cohesion. If you don't know, an architect is someone with round glasses and a turtleneck. So that's the technical expertise. So we're looking at, we don't look at it as a donation, but we're looking at it as a social investment. You take financing, you put it with technical expertise, and then you put contracts in place that focus on small business owners and job creation. This is basically a job stimulation package that will help community resiliency. So in the last 12 years, we've built over 2,000 structures in 44 countries, and we've helped 2 million people, right? End of story. Pat yourself on the back, you go home. Wrong. It's not enough. So we just reached 7 billion people. So there I was in my kind of early 30s, and we had finally hit the 1 million mark, the number of people living in shelters that we had created. And I realized that it wasn't even a drop in the ocean. It wasn't the mist of the drop in the ocean. It was nothing compared to the amount of need out there. So the only way to respond to that was by doing something open source, collaborative, and global. So fortunately, I can just jump this. I was in Sri Lanka working on some housing, and I get a phone call, and a guy phones up, and he says, "Hi, my name's Chris Anderson." I said, "Hi, how are you?" He says, "You've won the TED Prize." And I said, "What's TED?" You know, because I don't know what TED was. And he said, "Well, it's a prize. You get to come to Monterey, and you get to wish for anything you want in the world." I was like, "You haven't met me, right? I have huge ambitions for social change." He said, "No, no, no. Arrive, you give 18 minutes, we will make it happen." And I was like, "Fine, my wish was I want to improve the living standards of 5 billion people." And he said, "Okay, you're going to dial it back just a little, just a notch." And I said, "Okay, well, what if we figured out a mechanism that we can create kind of sharing solutions, real, tangible, built solutions on an open source platform?" So we built the Open Architecture Network, and that was about 4 years ago. And it's a place where you can find and manage and share everything from water innovation to shelter innovation, and you can actually work collaboratively on a global level and search for ideas, host competitions around particular subjects. We had over 10,000 kids involved in redesigning the classroom of the future. We're in the process of doing one of reimagining decommissioned military facilities. And so within those 4 years, 7,000 projects across the globe shared, and about 1.5 billion people were positively impacted by projects developed on that. And these go from, again, amazing solutions, from straw bale lending libraries in South Dakota to mobile AIDS clinics in Nigeria to weaving centers. This is stabilized soil block weaving centers in India. It's $1,500 a center, designed and built by the community. In Mexico, using natural building techniques so that we actually start small micro businesses around the development of their communities. Or in Japan, where we've been working with traditional contractors and carpenters to actually help rebuild communities and build small businesses around the recovery of the Japan earthquake. In South Africa, there are sports for social change facilities. In Rwanda, bringing together Hutu and Tutsi kids born after the genocide to do a repatriation project. In the USA, working after Katrina. In Peru, some schools after the earthquake. In Bangladesh, doing low-cost schools. And by the way, designed and built by Bangladeshi expertise. You don't have to fly in expertise when you know it's there. This is a project I absolutely love. So in Guatemala, art activists, architects, and urban planners and city officials have been secretly meeting because Guatemala City doesn't have places for kids to play. When they don't have places to play, they're not inspired. And so what they did is in the middle of the night, they did a land assessment, and they figured out what streets cars weren't driving on. So they changed the ruling so it's no longer a street, it's a public thoroughfare. And then at midnight, the artists and the architects go out and they paint sports facilities. At 8 a.m., the kids come with sports programs with youth organizations. They start invading the streets, and they take the streets one by one. This is a $1,500 intervention that's created 10 parks in Guatemala City. As a result of that facility, the city has adopted this as a program of the city. There's now 20 of them. This is just in the last 4 months. And now the city wants parks for their kids because they can see what the kids don't have. So showing solutions is important. From Tanzania, from mobile clinics to hospitals, working in the Hopi Nation. If you want to see poverty, poverty doesn't have a color or a religion or a faith. You go to the United States, you can see real poverty right on the reservation. So using straw bale construction techniques and starting businesses around low-cost housing. From South Africa, Astrid Dahmen, right here in Austria, is designing incredible schools to help bring education to South Africa. And I'll just mention my personal favorite, because there are thousands of them. So, on the Kenya-Sudan border, there are rural villages, and doctors have to travel between these villages, and they treat the patients, and they set up their little pop tent, and they have their medical equipment. And at the end of the week, they wrap it up, they put it on the back of a camel, they put a solar panel on the back of the camel, they whack the camel on the arse, it walks to the next village, and when it gets to the next village, it's generated enough energy to run the clinic in the next village. It's a camel-powered clinic. So, idea and innovation. Now, what makes it special? Implementation. This was designed by a 19-year-old kid who decided he doesn't have to wait till he's Frank Gehry's age to have this built. He's just going to go to the border, he's going to work with these doctors, and they're now on their 6th version of it, and it's now in 10 villages. So people are getting healthcare because the 19-year-old said, designing is not enough, building is what's important. In Haiti, we've been working with social business to help not just to develop and design new towns, but integrating economic corridors and making sure that every family has access to a job, so we're not creating future slums. Making sure that schools have artists involved in the program, so the idea of civic arts as a mechanism to inspire. And so we've done it. 5 years ago, wish is granted, I'm done, it's finished, it's over. So, it's gone. So I've declared victory on a project. And the point of this talk is to say that sometimes you start something and it must end. You've completed it. Don't have to drag it out. And I've completed what I've done. But something happened, which was we were working in Pakistan. And I had a donor, and I basically told them, by the way, 50% of my donors for post-disaster reconstruction are children. Facebook, Twitter, this is my communication tool with my donors. I already got tweets from them asking me about how projects were going in Haiti, Japan, and so we built an app to go alongside, to piggyback off the network, that GPS locates every single project that we're doing, brings up all the instant data of the project, how it's doing in construction, and the cost of construction. And guess what? If someone bribes us, we put that on the network. And so they can read that the reason the project stalled is the mayor of the town tried to bribe us. And so that we can actually talk about how development works. So we built these 3 villages. It cost us about $60,000. It's about 70 structures in total. GPS located. We use Google Maps and we use this iPad app. And so all our donors can go in and see the exact structure that was built. They can meet the families. And we get this email from the social business that has been working there, and he said, you know what, we didn't spend all your money. You know, wire transfer fees, you know, we're just going to end up giving the bank all the money, so can we use it to start a small business, a women's cooperative with the leftover bamboo and the money? And I was like, sure, go ahead, right? So this to me is like a great project. But God forbid you tell your donors that you use some of their donor money for something else. But having a constant dialogue with your donors, you actually get to have smart conversations about development. Flip to the other side. So I just got made an advisor for the US government, for USAID. So while I was there, I wanted to just quickly look at something. Oh. So at the same time that we were giving $60,000 to Pakistan, working with local grassroots organizations, there was a Friday night email and press release that went out saying that my tax money, I pay a lot of taxes, which means I get paid. Social business doesn't mean no business. I pay my taxes, so I care about what happens to that money. $250 million went to Pakistan. So I happened to spend a couple of days at USAID, and I said, I'm going to find out what happened to the money. So I started knocking on doors. Okay, do you know what happened to the money? Oh, I approved it, but I don't know where it went. You have to go to that department. So I said, okay, do you know what happened? Oh, we distributed it in this way, but you have to go to that department, to that department. We're not actually sure who the beneficiaries are, but these are the groups that we gave it to. And literally I spent 2 days trying to track down where $250 million is. It's insane, insane. So the sad thing is it probably got used really well, but no one knows it. So in America, foreign aid is evil. Right? Because the only story that came out of this aid was the $10 million that was found in the bank of somebody who was on the terrorist watch list that was taken out by the DOD. So the story that came out of this is the money went to terrorists, right? So this is what you're dealing with. So they really don't want me to show you this. I bet this was the administration. So I quickly show this. So this is the other thing, is there's an assumption that corruption happens over there. The recipients of the aid are the corrupt people, right? But I know, looking at government funding, that they take their 30% cut, and then they do this, and then they have their McKinseys, and they have the da-da-da, and by the time you get to it, there's SUVs that have just been bought, and, you know, and then the local organization gets 30 cents on the dollar, and they have to prove that they've done $1's worth of work for 30 cents. Like, what's corruption, right? So, you know, what I like about working in the developing world, well, We live in the overdeveloped world. What I like working in the rest of the world is that corruption is honest, right? When someone's trying to bribe you, they tell you that they're bribing you, right? In the kind of, Western world, we have so many mechanisms you don't actually understand whether you're being corrupt or not. So what we need is we need to have a reporting system that actually talks to the recipient. If I helped build you a house, I want to know that house is there. So we need to use kind of mobile reporting. If we can do funding in Kenya using mobile technology, we can actually have a communication with our beneficiaries. And we have to do that in a vertical system sustainability, not just about building, but how do we learn and co-create together, and how do we build collectively. So we've got all these tools. So the open architectural network was really about competitions and collaborations and project management. And then recently I acquired a nonprofit called World Changing that looks at case studies and research. So actually combinations of nonprofits to create a bigger cause. So the idea is that ideas and innovations are over, right? If you want to change the world, ideas and innovation is not good enough. What we need is honest accountability and reporting so that we can have a level playing field. Because social businesses will never survive when there's people with giant baseball bats that are throwing in billions of dollars. The amount of money that's flowing into Haiti, the amount of money that's siphoning around Japan, nobody actually knows. And so you have these small micro businesses struggling to survive, and in comes in a big organization and just dumps cash in and just undermines that whole business model. So you don't know that you're actually set up to fail. So we actually need to have a system that actually goes into learning, creating, building, evaluation, which is something that we're developing. So the idea is, I call it the sustainability movement, because I actually think that to be sustainable, you have to be more than about energy and materials. It has to be about economic and social, is that we need to evolve. We've won. We've won the sustainability movement. We need to just stop talking about it. What I love, last time I was here, I was inspired by this because I spoke at the Earth Talks here in Vienna. And part of the Earth Talks is the idea is that the war on whether sustainability is good or not is already won. If you don't believe in climate change, what happens if we accidentally build a holistic, sustainable, well-built world for you? I'm sorry, but we're going to have to do it, whether you like it or not. It's like that attitude. And so we have to do it in a kind of defined way. So that's the end of my talk. I think I'm out. Have I got like 1 minute? Oh, this is the please get off stage. So I was going to show you one quick thing, but I think I just want to end by this, is that when we look at the social businesses that are being created globally, we have to understand that there are bigger forces in play. And as we become more successful, those forces see us as aggressors. And there's a great Gandhi quote that says, first they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, and then you win. They've stopped ignoring. They've stopped laughing. Now they're fighting. Now we got to win. Thank you.